The Al-Aqsa Mosque, the third holiest site for Muslims, has once again been desecrated before the eyes of the world. In the scorching heat of a day in Jerusalem's Old City, thousands of Israelis flooded the narrow streets in Muslim quarters, chanting harrowing words, "Death to Arabs." This is not a scene from a movie, but the reality that unfolded on Monday, May 26, during the annual march commemorating Jerusalem Day. The march turned into a display of hatred and supremacy by Jewish extremists in a territory still recognized by the world as occupied. Not only civilians but also Israel's national security minister, Itamar Ben-Gvir, led the assault on the Al-Aqsa compound, accompanied by other officials and the police, who instead of stopping them, provided full protection to the assailants. Jerusalem Day, meant to be a peaceful march, became a nightmare for Palestinians. Shops were shuttered, children were intimidated, and attempts were made to break into residents' homes. One policeman was even seen celebrating the march, embracing participants at the height of the event. The Al-Aqsa compound was surrounded, breached, and turned into a site for rituals that not only violate the status quo, but also offend the sanctity of Muslims worldwide. The world watches, but the question arises, will the world remain silent? What is happening in Al-Aqsa is no longer just a violation of the status quo. These are actions planned, provoked, and openly declared by Israel's political elite and extremist groups. From early morning, over 2,000 illegal Israeli settlers began infiltrating the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. They arrived with Israeli flags, escorted by armed forces, and openly performed Jewish religious rituals on the grounds of Islam's main mosque. Itamar Ben-Gvir, a far-right Israeli minister, was not only present but led the action. In a video, he called the day a moment of victory, speaking as if he were defying the decades-long international status quo. However, the desecration did not end there. The extremist group Har Habayit now operates more brazenly than ever. They no longer hide. They produce videos with inflammatory songs featuring rabbis and their students, filmed in and around the Al-Aqsa Mosque. They brought a model of a Jewish temple, called the site the Holy of Holies, and symbolically erased Al-Aqsa's identity from their narrative. Moreover, posters with symbols were distributed to Israeli soldiers. In the videos, students sing a song calling for the construction of a Jewish temple in place of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. According to the Associated Press, observers describe this as the most dangerous stage of the Judaization project in Jerusalem. While this group once operated in the shadows, they now openly display their faces, names, and goals. According to researcher Ziad Abu Ais, this is no longer a provocation, but a structured strategy to change the religious identity of this holy site. They use Jerusalem Day not only for territorial claims, but also to test how far they can go without facing significant resistance from the international community. Reaction of Arab countries. The attack on the Al-Aqsa Mosque shocked not only Palestine, but also sparked outrage across the Arab world. Jordan, which plays a significant role in protecting holy sites in Jerusalem, immediately condemned Ben-Gvir's actions as a clear violation of international law and the religious status quo. In an official statement, Jordan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs called the Israeli invasion an attempt to alter the fact that East Jerusalem is an occupied city and that Israel has no sovereignty over this territory. Qatar also strongly condemned the provocative visit, describing Ben-Gvir's actions as an insult to over 2 billion Muslims worldwide. Qatar warned that Israel is playing with fire and that if not stopped, the cycle of violence will spread beyond Palestine, affecting the entire Middle East. Egypt, a key player in regional diplomacy, also spoke out firmly, warning of the serious consequences of this provocation and urging the international community not to remain passive in the face of Israel's violations. Turkey also sharply condemned the invasion and the display of Israeli flags in the Al-Aqsa compound, calling it a symbol of a policy of genocide and forced displacement of the Palestinian people. The Turkish government openly stated that Israel's actions are a systematic attempt to alter the historical and demographic identity of Palestine, including a long-term project of covert annexation of East Jerusalem. Condemnation by Hamas and the PFLP Arab countries and Palestinian resistance groups also spoke out, this time in much harsher tones. In an official statement, Hamas called Ben-Gvir's invasion of the Al-Aqsa compound, alongside settlers, a blatant violation of the sanctity of the Muslim place of worship. For Hamas, this is not an isolated incident, but a deliberate provocation, part of a larger plan to destroy the Islamic identity at the heart of Jerusalem. Additionally, Hamas accused Israel of applying a scorched earth strategy, condemning airstrikes on civilian areas in Gaza as part of a systematic tactic to forcibly displace Palestinians and restrict their living space. Meanwhile, the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, PFLP, stated that Israel's actions have entered a highly dangerous phase. It is no longer just about violating times or places, but about an attempt to seize full control over the Al-Aqsa compound. The PFLP asserts that Israel is implementing a Judaization project in its full scope, symbolically, administratively, and spiritually. They compare Israel's current actions to genocide and the structural destruction of identity, attack on UNRWA, and the normalization of violence. This time, the target was not only the Al-Aqsa Mosque, but also the office of the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA. A group of Israelis, including parliamentarian Yulia Malinovsky, openly scaled the main gates of the UNRWA complex in East Jerusalem, unfurling banners demanding that the territory be turned into a Jewish settlement. This action was carried out under the watch of Israeli security forces, who took no action. Not a single troublemaker was detained. Ironically, in a place that should be protected by international law, that law does not apply. This is not the first time Israel has targeted UNRWA, but this time the action was open, brazen, and without consequences. The UNRWA complex, which still operates legally, was abandoned in January due to security threats from armed and mass groups. Even more outrageous, after the march, provocative stickers reading "Jerusalem is in our hands" were found on shops belonging to Arab residents. Some Palestinian merchants could only withdraw quietly, while others resisted. What does this all mean? This means that violence against Palestinians has become normalized. It is not just an offense to religion, but a disregard for the international order and the global legal system. If even a UN institution is not safe, what can ordinary Palestinian citizens expect? What is happening in Al-Aqsa is no longer a matter of interfaith conflict or controversial historical interpretations. It is the greatest moral test for the contemporary world. When a sacred mosque is desecrated, civilians are intimidated, a UN institution is stormed, and violence becomes a political spectacle, it is not only Palestine that suffers but the conscience of all humanity. Israel, with internal political support in the silence of many, continues to act. Not in secret anymore, but openly. If they can do this with impunity today, who will be their next victim? Arab countries are outraged, resistance groups have raised their voices, but will this be enough, or will the world choose silence once again? One thing is clear. Today, the Al-Aqsa Mosque is not just a symbol of sanctity, it is a symbol of resistance, dignity, and the fact that silence equals defeat.